Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today we've got a really good one for you. You know, I do a lot of videos regarding my custom rod building and how I'm building MHX blanks, and I think they're some of the most top of the line rods that I build. Well, every time I do those videos, I get comments from viewers that want me to, give them advice on what rods to purchase. Well, it's hard for me to compare the rods I build to the store-bought brands just because I'm not familiar with those brands. And one of the questions I get a lot of times is, how much should I spend on a rod? And I guess that's what I want to address today. You know, the amount of money that's spent on a rod isn't necessarily the important part of the equation. The important part is figuring out what type of rod you want for the technique that you're looking to use, because realistically you do not have to use a $400 rod, which would be, roughly what this rod is. This is one that I build. This is a MHX NMB 873, one of my favorite rods. If I were to buy that in the store, it would be a $400 rod. I can build it for roughly about half of the cost. In the same case I'm building here, this is just what would be considered a spin jig. It's a 813 model, so you're looking at a rod that might be $150 in the stores if I were to go and purchase a similar rod. So the point here is, why would I use a $100 to $200 rod when I could build all $400 rods? And realistically, it's because I don't need a $400 rod for a lot of the different techniques that I'm doing. That's one of the frustrating parts when people ask me, how much should I spend on a rod? Well, you could spend $50 on a rod and it would be perfect for what you're looking for, even for what I might use at the professional level. You don't have to have a $400 rod. So that's what we're going to address today. Before I get into that, I do want to remind you guys that if you're looking for a little bit more contact directly with me, check out the one-on-one virtual lessons that I do. It's a 1-hour Zoom call where I can answer all of the questions that you have. The link is in the video description. Also, if you want to support the channel, please do your shopping at Tackle Warehouse using your affiliate or my affiliate link, which is also in the video description. So the next time you head out to buy a new rod, please think of me. Every dollar I make from the Tackle Warehouse affiliate program comes right back to making content for you guys. So let's address this. Why would you not use a $400 rod, and when you use a $100 to $200 rod? And realistically, what it comes down to is the techniques and presentations that I'm doing. So for example, if you're out frog fishing, I don't think there's any reason at all to spend high dollars on a frog rod. All you need is a rod that's a strong backbone rod. Everything else is visual, right? So you're looking for a rod that will get the job done. You don't need anything to feel the bites. You see the bites. They're all going to be visual. You need something that can hoist a big fish through a bunch of slop back to the boat. In fact, for years, the rod that I was using in my tournaments for frog fishing was I would say $150 rod that had the tip broken off, that I bought at a manufacturer's facility in their repaired rods for $50. And it was one of the best frog rods I've ever used because of the fact that it had a strong tip. It wasn't a soft tip. It was a strong, fast action rod that allowed me to reef those fish out. And it was broken down from 7.3 to about 6.11, which is what I'm looking for in a frog rod. So the point is, that rod, when I saw it, I knew it was going to be my frog rod. It fits exactly what I'm looking for. No reason at all to go spend $400 on a frog rod. Now, to counter that, and for example, this rod right here, this NMB 873, is the rod that I like to use when flipping jigs. It's the rod I like to use with swim jigs. It's a very, very good all-purpose rod. And in most of those presentations, what I'm looking for is a rod that will maybe allow me to skip a bait under a dock further. So I want something that fits the criteria to do that. I want to be able to feel that bite when my jig is falling to the bottom, and therefore I'm looking for a high sensitive rod. This is the same sort of rod that I would use if I'm dragging worms through grass. So I want to be able to feel those bites, because if you miss those bites, you're going to miss a lot of fish. And I need my sensitivity, and I feel like a higher dollar rod, a higher dollar blank is going to get the job done for me. I can counter that again by saying that this spin jig rod right here that I'm building is my jerkbait rod. Now, this is personal preference. Some people say you'd want the most sensitive jerkbait rod possible. I actually don't want that. I want a more of a, what I consider a whipstick, a light action rod. Remember, I'm throwing spinning gear with my jerkbaits. I want something that I'm not necessarily going to pull the bait away from the fish, and I'm willing to give up some of that sensitivity, some of that fast action tip for a much slower tip to allow me to get better hooks into the fish's mouth. So for years, my preferred jerkbait rods have actually been less sensitive rods. I'm not necessarily needing to feel that bite. If the fish comes up and eats my jerkbait, I'm either going to feel it because they crush it, or it's just going to load up on me, almost like watching a bobber. So from that standpoint, I don't want a super high sensitive rod. So keep in mind, anytime you guys are out rod shopping, dollar value doesn't really come into play that much. I mean, it's a big factor in terms of what you can spend, but a lot of times, in my opinion, if you spend $400, $500, $600 on a rod, you're actually going to lose performance in the bait and in the technique that you're using. You know, Topwater is a great example. I mentioned the frog before. I love using a moderate price rod generally for my topwaters. I want something that will allow me to work the bait the way that I want to work it, but also prevent me from pulling the bait away from the fish. And because the strikes are visual, I don't need a super sensitive rod to do that. So there are definitely techniques and baits out there where you can limit the amount that you're going to spend on a new rod because you don't need those sensitive rods. Now, to counter that, a lot of my finesse presentations, I'm using very high dollar blanks because I want very sensitive rods for fishing super light line, very light baits, and I want to be able to feel those bites. You know, I don't want to be gut hooking my fish left and right. So it's one of those things, guys. Next time you ask me, should I spend $200 on a rod? Should I spend $300? There's no correct answer on that. It really comes down to the technique and the bait that you want that rod for. You know, generally speaking, just because a rod costs more doesn't mean it's a better rod for the situation that you're looking to use it in. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully it saves you a few bucks. If it does and you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, we'll have a new video tomorrow for you.